Can we start timing you yet?
No.
Start timing you
Okay, you time me out. Okay, I'm Ryan Woodruff, and my business I'm here to talk to you about today is Rhino Consulting and Coaching. One of the things that I've been most inspired about coming to 1 Million Cups is the stories people tell about why they started their business. So I'm going to put this slide up here which talks about me a little bit, but I'm going to try and in like 2 minutes tell you my story. Marlon, who's a professional storyteller, it took me like 45 minutes to tell this, so I'm going to try to be short and sweet. So, consulting and coaching is a passion of mine. I'll kind of explain why. I grew up in a different way. My mother was a guest of the prison system for the first 21 years of my life, and my father was never around. And so I was raised by my great aunt, my grandmother, and my great grandmother. So it was like Golden Girls and a little boy. And I worked a lot, and I worked all through high school, and I worked in retail, I worked at Target. I was privileged to be promoted really young. The day I graduated high school, I got promoted to a supervisor position. Because I was raised by people who were born during the Depression, I was raised with a really good work ethic, and they liked that. Well, at 21, I found who I thought was my father, and I had a conversation with him, and I found out he had an entire other life that I was not a part of. He had kids, he had a wife, he had a whole world that I wasn't invited into. Now, that's not a pity party, it's not a story. It actually didn't affect me in the ways it would affect, depression and things like that. What it did do, what stuck with me about that was the fact that I had younger siblings that I didn't know about. And so it gave me kind of this big brother complex. Well, I applied that at work. I was already in a supervisory position. I went back to work and had this just mission and vision to help all these other people, all these younger people, all these, developing people that were a year or two younger than me. And I didn't realize at the time that's what I was doing, but it worked. I worked in retail. I quickly advanced to leadership roles. I became a store manager. I was at Borders bookstore before they went out of business as a general manager. When they went out of business, I went into banking. I worked my way up in banking from branch manager to district manager to regional manager to vice president, ultimately to a division head. Well, in 2022, I had kind of an epiphany. My family helped me with that. My kids and my wife said, hey, you're not the same person you used to be. So I took a step back and reflected. And what I realized, this is when I really realized I had this big brother complex, because what I had done is worked my way up into a position where I wasn't really developing people anymore. All I was doing was sitting in meetings and director meetings and having these conversations, and I wasn't talking to people anymore. I wasn't helping people anymore. So I walked away. I walked away from that role. I had a clean break, and I reflected. And what I reflected on and what I realized was my whole career had been a vehicle for me to spend time helping other people. Coaching, teaching, mentoring, supporting in some way, shape, or form. And I found that self-awareness for me inspired me to do something else about it. So that's where we come to starting this business. So what do we do? I guess I'll read from here and not use my clicker. No, it's all right. We serve organizations with comprehensive assessments, personalized coaching, and focused business support. Our motto is Rhino Consulting helps you and your teams break through barriers and achieve your highest level results. Why do we do it? 2 founding concepts. One is that we believe that everyone is unique and different. All job duties either give or take energy from us. So aligning employees and leaders with the right activities and duties significantly reduces burnout and failure in teams and companies. Second concept is that we believe that almost all employee conflict and communication issues come from expecting others to think like we do. People say, what do you do? Well, the first thing I do is help people stop expecting other people to think like they do. So we help each employee and leader raise their own self-awareness, adjust their expectations of others, and realize that no one comes to work to fail. So how do we do that? We have a handful of services. I'll explain kind of what we do with each one. The first and most popular thing we do is team assessment. We use the DISC assessment profile for this. Anybody ever taken an assessment before, personality assessment before? Okay, awesome. I like DISC because it's visual, it's easy, it's just this big circle right here, and you can kind of point where you're at and where other people are. So it's very simple, it's approachable. So we do this, and then that lays a foundation for how do we help each person. It tells us, do we want to help people spend time in sales or operations or problem solving or driving for results or design or just in support roles? It tells us what to do with that. So the next thing we do is integrated consulting. I'm like, well, what does that mean? Well, normally a consultant will go in, they'll listen to the boss talk for a little while, and they'll give them some type of plan. I don't like that. I like to be involved. I like to be in the business. I like to be in the meetings. I like to observe everybody that's a part of the meeting, the leadership, the line level people, all of the stakeholders. Once we have the DISC assessment, we kind of know where people's focus are. Now I can go in and I can listen to what each person does, and I can help figure out, does this align with the things that they enjoy or the things they don't enjoy, the things they're built for or the things that maybe they don't enjoy. And this helps me give feedback on the spot or in reflection. We do team coaching and training. So team coaching and training, what does that mean? Well, a lot of it is soft skills. So does somebody need help being more organized with their email? Does somebody need help in speaking? Does somebody need help in their sales presentations? You know, how do I, hey, I'm a salesperson, how do I be myself? Well, let's talk about that. Like I said, soft skills training, things like that, conflict resolution, communication. Individual leadership coaching. So I actually end up doing a lot of this, even though this is only one of the services, and it falls under that mentorship role. So the leadership coaching is really more of a, let's talk about what your successes are, what your passions are, things that aren't working for you, and let's talk about how to improve on those things. Process and channel assessment. This specifically for businesses, this is where I tap into my experience. I spent 15 years in one industry, 15 years in another, so I've got some exposure to sales, operations, delivery, customer service, all those different things. This has helped go in and somebody says, well, I want to start this type of company. Okay, well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how you think you should do it and what you should do. You know, who should you solicit to? Who's your demographic? What should you do for marketing? What should you do for processes? So somebody can come in with their ideas, and I can sit down and talk and say, okay, well, hey, this sounds good. In my experience, you could add this, or maybe take this out. You know, so that's really where kind of assessing that business model and giving some advice comes in. Lastly, fractional executive. So what a fractional executive does is they fill a gap. So if there's a gap in a company, this is a spot where somebody can come in. For example, if somebody has a great idea and they're really good at talking about their idea to the public, but they're a train wreck with their finances. Well, a fractional executive can come in and spend a little bit of time helping keep their finances in order. Or leadership role. Like if somebody, for example, one of the things I do with one of my clients right now is I run their staff meeting every Monday. And that's not a skill that any of them have or focus on. I come in, I have a very structured agenda, we talk through it, keep everybody on pace, keep everybody accountable, and then they don't see me again for a week. And that 1 hour a week for them keeps them completely on pace. And it saves them a tremendous amount of time. So this is a spot where somebody can kind of fill a gap. I talked really fast, I said a lot of things, I have no idea where I'm at on time.
Uh-oh.
That's everything I have. So now I'm at the slide. So I talked about why I do it, why I love it, why I got started, a handful of the different things that we can do and that I enjoy doing. What I need help with is just exposure. I only do this part-time. I'm actually a full-time mortgage loan originator. Some of my team is here today. And so following us on socials, I do try and post at least once or twice a month, whether it's inspirational, motivational, something that just comes to my mind, something I've seen come up in the workplace that I just want to share. I'll post something, so sometimes it's valuable, sometimes it's not. But that's helpful. Directing people to reach out to us. I have cards and flyers here today. And then keep us top of mind while you're in your own networking circles. Like Cindy talked about today, everybody knows 250 people they invite to their wedding. One of the values, the little pitch for 1 Million Cups that I found is coming to here is not just the inspiration in being around other entrepreneurs and other people with this mindset, but also connecting with people and their networks. I've had coffee with a lot of people in this room, I haven't been through one example where that person didn't at least connect me with one person, or I didn't connect them with one person. So that's helpful for me. So that being said, where am I at on time? Let me see
Okay,
how I
well,
do.
you don't have to use it all because we can help you. So I'll start.
All right, so Q&A.
Yeah, so I'll start.
All right, let me grab my water.
So what size company do you work for?
So
Do you work
5.
with- Do you do like big companies, small, like
So
little?
great question. Great question. And I'm gonna be really transparent in these questions because that's the point of this group, right? This is a presentation, not a pitch. So I don't really want to work with large corporations because I've spent 30 years working in a corporate environment. So what I've found, and even just in the last couple of years, I've fallen in love with this community, with the local community. At the job I was at before this for 4 years, I was responsible for the entire state. I was all over the place. I want to work with small companies. 5 to 50 employees is my target audience. So I have 5 regular clients right now. They're all between 3 and 10 employees. I feel like that's where I can have the biggest impact, not just with the passion that I have for doing stuff, but also the fact that I was in the corporate world for 30 years. There's concepts that I can share that have been really helpful to people.
And we were working with him too currently, and some of the things that he helps just conceptually is developing your goals and then the requirements for those goals and then the tactics that you do for that. I figured,
I love when you speak that language.
Yeah. Gets everything straight and strategic. So.
Thank you. Handshake. Yes.
So, as you know, a lot of our businesses here are small, emerging, but we're trying to get to a point where we can grow to get to that 5 to 10 person business. But would you do something like when people get to the point, small business owners get to the point where they need to hire? I can see where we would need to maybe learn about the personalities that we need to put in place that work best with us, because that's a place where a lot of people make mistakes that end up costing them a lot of resources and time. When consulting with you could save people. But we wouldn't fall into the 5-person kind of.
That's okay. So, and I'm glad you asked that. And the person's not in this room right now, but I did help somebody else in this room with a hiring. And that's something I'm helping a couple other companies with now. So for example, they're looking for somebody. Like I've got two of my clients right now are looking for operations managers. So I posted something, but a requirement of that is taking the DISC assessment. Now the employer is paying for the DISC assessment. DISC assessment's $200. Okay, so instead of hiring a firm to pay thousands or a big percentage, for $200, you can get a DISC assessment on whoever your candidate is, or if you have a couple candidates, you can pick them, and that's 24 pages that talks to you about that client. And then I will spend time with you as a business owner explaining, hey, this is what you're looking for, here's what you're looking for, you're looking for an ops person, you're looking for a salesperson, you're looking for a business manager, you're just looking for support. Here's the DISC assessment. Let me help talk to you about what this person's skill set is and what they might be good at, what their motivations are. And so now, because to be honest with you, we all like somebody when we interview them. So you either like them, they're great, or you're really skeptical and you're indecisive about it. Doing something like this helps. And $200 is a pretty approachable level. Other questions? Go ahead.
Would you be interested in working with people outside of Indiana, like on a virtual basis?
What did she say?
She asked if I'd be willing to work with people outside of Indiana on a virtual basis.
Oh.
Here's my answer. If it's through this network or people that are centered here, yes, I would. Like if you've got family members or friends or people from your network that could use the help, yes, I would. But I don't plan at this point to solicit my business outside of this area. Yeah. Other questions?
I do. So do you, okay, so just, how about this? Like, would you come and help me, like, get my business organized, or help get my employees organized?
100%. Yeah, so how that would work.
I mean, I could always use some help, but the only way I know how to word that is, a lot of us are like solopreneurs, or we just have us and like our family members helping us, any friend we can talk into.
Yep.
So it kind of gets to be overwhelming. Like, I mean, that's what's so great about this group is that people come here and go, wow, look at all these entrepreneurs in the community, all right here, just in the same situation I'm in. You know, so now I can like talk to all of you. So, like, how would you be able to help us?
Yeah, absolutely. So what that would look like is we would have a conversation, and you tell me maybe some of your pain points, some things what your goals are, and if you didn't have your goals, I could help you establish those. And then whatever your pain points are. If you're struggling to meet goals, if you're not able to achieve the things you're trying to, or just get something set up, we would talk through that. We'd talk through it together, we'd lay something out, and from there, you could either take that, see how it works on your own, or you could say, hey Ryan, I was able to do 2 of these 5 things we talked about, but I just need a little more help. And then we'd work something out. I could come in 3 hours a month, or an hour a week, or we could meet regularly and just talk through it, or I could work with the team. And if you've got, say, 2 people that you want to help with your business, maybe it's like a child and a spouse or whatnot. Like, I could have a conversation with them and help figure out what things they enjoy. What do they want to get? What do they want to do well at? Because what I find, and this is 60,000 hours of being in leadership roles, what I find is when you align people with what they enjoy doing, they excel. They absolutely excel. I can't tell you the number of people who've been on the verge of getting terminated in a job that I've worked with that became very successful. They just weren't in the right job. So that's something we could do. We could absolutely talk through that.
Awesome. Okay, what about your fee structure? Is it on your website?
So I don't have it on there. So I have 2 models. I have 2 models right now. One model is I have a retainer model, which is 5 hours minimum a month. It's $100 an hour. So for $500 a month, you have access to me to talk through whatever you want. I also am doing a la carte. So small businesses that it's 1 person or 2 people and they're just trying to get going, I'll only bill you for whatever actual time, and I bill in 15-minute intervals.
Awesome.
So if you want to chat for 15 minutes and say, hey, let's get right to the point, let's talk about this thing, that could be $25. So, and that has been a value, like just tapping into accessing that information and being really short and to the point. I found I want to do this. I make way more money in my full-time mortgage job than I do in this. I do this because I love it.
Absolutely.
So, like, for me, it's not about making a bunch of money. It's about being reasonable, and I want it to be approachable. I want to be accessible for everybody.
I have a question too.
Yeah.
So some businesses might not have employees, but there is a team of other people that you use that are not within your company.
Yeah.
Do you get into that as well?
Yeah, so in those cases, like if you have say vendors or service providers that you rely on, that you work closely with, or even volunteers, some of that's just having a conversation with you, and I can ask some kind of pointed questions to figure out maybe what, like say you've got a vendor you work with, and you work with Susie at this XYZ vendor. We could talk a little bit about Susie, just your observations, and then knowing you, we would talk. I would figure out maybe where you're at in disc assessment or something like that, and I could give you some tips for communicating better or resolving conflict with those people.
And I'm also thinking on the lines of like, okay, you need an accountant, you need a bookkeeper, you need an attorney, things like that as well.
Yeah, so that's networking.
Yeah.
So interesting enough, I had somebody who had some human resources needs. My ex-wife happens to be a SHRM, and I directed her to them. So she was able to help them. So I do know accountants, I know attorneys. They don't work for, I'm not trying to make this into some huge firm or anything, but I can typically find somebody. And if I don't, this is one great group of people that I can call and say, hey, do you have, hey Cindy, do you have a bookkeeper that works part-time that you trust, that you've had experience with? And I can go back and I can say, hey, my friend, somebody I work with has somebody they've got experience with. This is the fee structure. You can try them out.
So as a community, is there anything else we can do for you?
This is my website, my QR code to my website. Facebook, I would honestly, if you guys looked up Rhino Consulting and Coaching on Facebook and just hit that like button just so you can see regularly, that would be the absolute biggest help for me. So, and then of course you invite people to like, and that helps me get some exposure.
Exciting.
Thank you.